How's that for a slice of fried gold?
You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
I'll be back.
Just a flesh wound. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Take your sticking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I did find this. I've been organizing my office space here.
Wow.
And yeah, that wasn't the whole story. I did find this poem I wanted to read. This meeting of the PFS has come to order.
Oh,
Join
God
us as
damn
we
it.
talk.
No. Please don't. Please don't.
Wait,
What is this? What is this?
I'm starting over. This
Okay.
meeting of the PFS has come to order. Join us as we talk Martians, monsters, and murder. With hosts Gary and Justin rhapsodizing in your ear. The movies get better if, like them, you drink beer. Will your fave flick make the Hall of Fame? If you don't vote on social media, only yourself will be who's to blame. We're not a fancy show with a bunch of flash and bling, but we have a lot of fun. Hashtag chair thing.
You know, that's solid. I stand behind it. I was at first. I stand behind it.
I read that to my
what is
wife
that?
earlier, and she was like, "You're so fucking lame." I was like, "I didn't write it.
Wasn't me. What?
That was Todd for Psychotronic Film Society."
I do not remember this happening. I do not remember Todd writing this. What was this for?
My best guess, I don't know, because it was framed, and I just have it in a folder here, but it was right next to this copy of RoboCop.
That I autographed to the show.
Despite having nothing to do with the comic book adaptation of this film, or the film.
I don't think we were talking about the movie. He just brought a copy of a RoboCop comic book. That's old. That's from back in the PFS. For those who don't know, PFS is our old the Psychotronic Film Society is our old podcast that me and Gary hosted pre-Cinema Shock that Todd was an occasional guest on. So I guess he wrote us an ode at one point during that. I don't remember that.
I do remember buying the comic
For like $1.
Yeah, I bought it. It was a dollar bin purchase at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte, and just thinking like, oh, because they do the thing in there, I'd buy that for $1, so I bought it for $1. And
wow.
wrote that. Yeah.
And wrote that on the cover and
I bought
signed
this
it.
for $1.
I gave
All
it
right.
to the show.
Memories before Todd was actually one of the hosts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We've talked long enough. Any first-time listeners are going to wonder when the fuck we're going to be talking about a movie on this episode. So
Oh, and see, and I found this book in that same folder, The Wit and Wisdom of Star Trek.
it's blank.
But the first thing I opened it up to was a quote from William Shatner that says, "I always use a stunt double, except for love scenes. I insist on those myself."
Wow. Wow.
Nice. Yep.
That's Bill.
There's
Thanks, Bill.
for it. Well, hello, and welcome to Cinema Shock, the podcast exploring the stories behind your favorite cult genre films. We do all the research so that you don't have to. This, I promise, now is the last podcast you will ever need about strange days. And I'm one of your hosts, Gary Horde.
Hey, I'm your other host, Justin Bishop.
And I'm writer-comedian Mr. Todd A. Davis. Thank you for joining us for the final film we'll be discussing in this series.
Ever.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the series finale.
This is our series finale of our series, Virtual Insanity, the cyber thrillers of 1995.
We've come to the end, fellas,
Yes.
which is this is a fitting movie to talk about as we're coming to the end of the series.
Also, you said that, and it made me think of This Is the End, which the Doors
Different
have an
different
album
door
called
song.
Yeah, but the Doors have an album called Strange Days.
I
So,
know. Yes.
I was just saying, it all came full circle. Well, glad we talked about that. We'll move on.
I'm pretty sure that's what the movie is named after, is the door song.
Is it
Read that
really?
I think so. I think I read
Oh.
that somewhere. Yeah. That's not in my notes anywhere, but I am pretty sure I saw that somewhere.
I love that I got to do the intro, that this is the last podcast you'll ever need about Strange Days. And our very first bit of information is, I think this movie was named after the Doors album. I don't know. It might be.
It might be.
Who
You
knows?
know,
I
where's
think I
to
saw
say?
that.
it's definitive. Well, before we move on, we got to give a shout out to our Cinema Shock Plus subscribers and a new member, Lily McKay, who joined at the Johnny Keys tier. That means that Lily is getting the extended version of this episode and of all of our episodes dating at least back to the beginning of our David Lynch series. But that means that Lily is getting the full story of Strange Days with all of the special features, with the further viewing, and with the Somebody Needs a Nap and all that other stuff, and getting parts 1 and part 2 of Strange Days, which the rest of y'all freeloaders are going to have to wait a week to get the second part of the story. We're just kidding. I'm kidding. I love all of our listeners, whether you pay us or not. We appreciate you listening, but we especially appreciate Lily McKay for joining Cinema Shock Plus.
Thanks, Lily.
Thanks, Lily.
Woo.
I have loved Lily McKay so long. I have no idea who Lily is, but I do love you now, Lily.
Yeah.
For so long.
Since like 30 seconds ago when I told you their name.
Right.
Yeah, that long. But but this is just the beginning of your story, Gary.
Yep.
This could be a beautiful friendship.
I look forward to all of our time together, Lily.
This is going off the rails.
I feel like I'm only making it weirder.
Yeah, you really are making it more.
They immediately have unsubscribed.
Yeah, they're like, I'm done. This is not worth it. But Lily does get all those extended episodes, and you can get those too if you want to join Cinema Shock Plus, cinemashock.net/plus. You also get access to, like I said, you get your episodes early. You get the extended episode. You get merchandise discounts. If you join at the highest tier, you even get video content of us recording these episodes. So there's all kinds of stuff to be had. And most importantly, you are helping us to put on this show, to pay for all the material that we have to buy for research and all, everything that comes along with making a podcast. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Woo.
So yeah, that's it. That's the plug. We're done with the plug. We still got a whole show to do.
Oh,
yeah. Still a lot of show left to go, and I'll make it less awkward from here. I promise.
I doubt that.
I'm going to take some of the heat off of Gary and say Juliette Lewis is so nude. Her costume fittings are just someone checking for tan lines.
Wow. Writer comedian.
That's 1 of 10, folks.
Mr. Todd A. Davis.
1 of 10 what?
He's just got a whole list of Juliette Lewis jokes.
Yep, Juliette Lewis jokes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how part of canon it is since Cinema Shock started, but Juliette Lewis makes me uncomfortable, so we can get that out of the way.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. Let's get this show on the road. So in 2010, director Kathryn Bigelow made history by becoming the first woman ever to win the Academy Award for Best Director. And she earned that Oscar for her work on The Hurt Locker, a film that was both a critical and commercial success, and itself went on to win Best Picture at that year's ceremony. But nearly a decade and a half earlier, Bigelow had actually already broken new ground when she became the first woman to win the Saturn Award for Best Director. That time, it was for a film that not only divided critics, but also flopped at the box office. In the years since, however, it has been heavily reevaluated and has come to be seen as one of the most important and most overlooked genre gems of the 1990s. It's a film that dives headfirst into questions about memory, technology, and obsession, and how our craving to experience someone else's life can end up destroying our own. So for the final film in our Virtual Insanity series, we are taking a deep dive into the making of Kathryn Bigelow's Strange Days.
Have you ever jacked in? Have you ever wire-tripped? No? A virgin brain. Well, we're gonna start you off right. This isn't like TV, only better. This is life. Yeah, it's a piece of somebody's life. Pure and uncut. Straight from the cerebral cortex. You're there. You're doing it, seeing it, hearing it. You're feeling it. It's about the stuff that you can't have, right? Like running into a liquor store with a 357 Magnum in your hand, feeling the adrenaline pumping through your veins. I can make it happen. I can get you anything you want. You just have to talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm your priest. I'm your shrink. I'm your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man. The Santa Claus of the subconscious. You say it. You even think it. You can have it. Are we beginning to see the possibilities here? You know you want it.
The issue isn't whether you'll be spoiled, listeners. The issue is whether you'll be spoiled enough.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's a spoiler alert.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, no problem.
So Strange Days. It's hard to say Strange Dayses. It's hard to put a possessive on the end of Strange Days. Strange Days is
I don't even know if I would have done that, but that makes
Strange
sense.
Days is
Like, because
strange.
sometimes I feel like when the apostrophe's after the S, like you're just
Yeah.
like extending the
implied.
S a little bit longer. Yeah, like
Strange Days.
Journey to the big screen. You know,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try again.
I understand. Yeah, I totally feel you on that. But yeah, I do what Gary just said.
Strange Date. God damn it, y'all fucked me up.
well, oh
Bring
yeah,
in
put the
content.
blame on us. Okay,
Y'all fucked me up.
take ownership, Justin.
I'd rather deflect. Thank you very much. Strange Days' journey to the big screen started about a decade before anyone actually saw it. Back in 1985, Jimmy Cameron, our old friend, Jimmy Cameron, still riding high on the success of the first Terminator movie, came up with a concept for a movie that he was calling The Magic Man, a film noir taking place on New Year's Eve, 1999. And he was fascinated by the dramatic and thematic potentials of this new millennium and the idea of doomsday as the backdrop for the redemption of a single individual. So he scribbled a few ideas on a notepad, less than 5 pages, like of handwritten notes, so not a whole lot. Just ideas that he had for this, and then he did absolutely nothing with it for about 7 years. Ever the futurist, Cameron's idea was surprisingly ahead of its time. His story revolved around a new technology called squids, superconducting quantum interference devices. Basically, they were virtual reality headsets that plugged straight into your brain and recorded every sensation that you felt. So in this near future world, people use squids to experience the thrills, terrors, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of questionable content from other people's lives. Now, keep in mind, the only reality show on TV back then, this is, in the mid to late 1980s, the only reality show that existed was Cops. So this wasn't like a thing he was pulling from necessarily, but Cameron clearly saw the camera-obsessed culture barreling towards us.
This is technology we're on the verge of, it feels like. I mean, we've already got VR chugging along here between Meta and Apple and everybody. So that part's there. Then also just the idea that, there's like brain scans now where like scientists can like track neural pathways and do all of this other stuff to your brain. So, I mean, Elon's got Neuralink out there that just helped a guy learn to hear or something, again, that was deaf or whatever it was. I can't remember if it was hearing or seeing, but either way, it fucking worked. And so it feels like this is something really feasible that could happen.
Yeah, it's not that insane to think of. I mean, obviously 1999 was that he was being a little ambitious with the timeline there, but
Well, yeah, and I guess I should be clear. I don't know that you could actually like record somebody's memories. You know, that would be a little weird too. I don't know what it is, but I was watching a thing for our last podcast from the left. It was like last stream from the left or something the other day, where Henry was telling a story about he was citing an article that he was reading about where they say when you die, from the time your brain completely shuts down, there is an amount of weight that is like lost in your body.
It's 21 grams.
Yeah, is that what it is? 21 grams?
Yeah, 21 grams.
There's a physical amount of data that's somewhere up there. So maybe one day.
It made me think of, I don't know if either of you guys have had a sleep study. I remember having all the electrodes hooked up all over my head and just it was, I mean, again, it's not this, but they are essentially monitoring your brain.
Brainwaves.
Yeah. And it's a wild sensation. And that was only a few years ago. So futurist Jimmy Cameron.
Yeah. Brainwaves.
Yeah.
Surfs up. Point Break, Kathryn Bigelow.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
This episode is already off the rails.
We were just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in describing a futuristic Los Angeles, James Cameron wrote, this is a direct quote from his script on this, or his treatment on this. He says, "The economy is worse. The jobless rate is up. New housing is down. All the indicators are creeping steadily into the red. California, the shake and bake state, is still mailing out IOUs and waiting for the big one to make Barstow into beachfront property. The freeways are a nightmare of gridlock, with smaller cars parked closer and closer together. Gas is over $3 a gallon. There are security cameras in malls, cameras in office buildings, cameras in banks, cameras in schools, cameras in convenience stores. Reality shows and amateur video dominate TV programming. It is the age of scopophilia, voyeurism, and vicarious living. we like to watch.
Hmm.
Can you believe he wrote that in like the late 1980s, early 1990s by this point? Like that
it's
is
eerie.
Can I believe that Jim Cameron did it? Yes, I can.
Is he a wizard? Like, what in the world?
He's 100% one of these people we talked about even like on last episode, the futurist people, which that's the book we read about.
Yeah, I mean, that's
James
why
Cameron,
we called our James Cameron series The Man of Tomorrow, because he seems to have a knack for predicting to an extent things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is like it's easy to look at something like Terminator and be like, well, it's got a lot of hyperbole in his predictions of the future, but
Yeah, well, he was also making a killer robot movie at the same time, so you got to have some liberties.
exactly. So there's that point, and you're missing the underlying tone of what he's talking about,
Right.
in a lot of things.
Exactly. So then in 1992, all of this speculative dystopia, the stuff that James Cameron's writing about, started feeling uncomfortably real when a black taxi driver named Rodney King was brutally beaten by members of the Los Angeles Police Department. This incident, I'm sure you guys remember this. This incident was recorded by an eyewitness with a home video camera and released to the public. And then when 4 LAPD officers involved were acquitted, the entire city of Los Angeles erupted in riots, looting, and clashes with the police. It was like, I remember I was like 10 years old when this happened.
Yeah.
And it was everywhere. I mean, it was like unlike anything that we had ever seen in our lifetime. And afterwards, this whole city looked like a war zone. And Kathryn Bigelow was a part of the cleanup effort. And she later said, I went down to help with the cleanup, and it gave me a lot of the visuals, talking about the visuals that she's going to use later on Strange Days. She said, you'd be on the street corner with these shells of buildings that once were, with tanks and National Guard cruising by.
Seems like a war zone, and yeah, so like you said, she didn't just witness the stuff, she was literally in it. I feel like you could feel that in this movie. Like there's an anger, like in the lens, basically. It's just like gritty, and just the way it all looks. I mean, cinematographer's going to have a lot to do with this too, but like it's, I don't know, the whole thing feels like gritty, weird LA, when there's like this distrust of authority over the whole thing. And like seeing that about her, it just really made me feel as though, wow, she really translated that vibe.
She did.
Over here.
Yeah, she absolutely did. And now if you're a longtime listener of Cinema Shock, and you've listened to our James Cameron series from a couple years ago, then you probably know that Bigelow and Cameron were married. They were married from 1989 to 1991. I think she was his second wife at that point. I think he had a few more after that. I think he's had 4 or 5. I don't know. I can't remember. But they had a pretty interesting relationship that we talk a lot about early on in that James Cameron series. So go check that out if you haven't already. But they ended up getting divorced right after Terminator 2 was completed, which, fun fact, is what happens when a director has an affair with his star and barely tries to hide it, which is what happened with James Cameron and Linda Hamilton. After Terminator 2 was done, they're like, you know what? Everyone kind of already knows about this, including my wife.
I thought you meant Arnold. Okay.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
that's on the deal.
Okay.
But despite the tabloid drama, Cameron and Bigelow remained friends after this, and when Cameron finally sat down to flesh out the screenplay for Strange Days, he actually wrote it with Bigelow in mind to direct it.
On one hand, regarding Jim Cameron and his affair, I want to be a respectful gentleman and not comment on it. On the other hand, I do want to say Kathryn Bigelow is a fucking fox. So what are you thinking? If you happen to have a third hand, I'd like to say, if you're on track to be worth billions with a B, and your big struggle in life is writing movies and figuring out if you want to be with Kathryn Bigelow or Linda Hamilton, then God has favored you in some way.
Yeah, you're doing something right, Jimmy.
If you have more than 2 hands and you're watching Juliette Lewis, you know what? Let's get back into the episode.
I don't even understand that joke.
He was talking about masturbating to Juliette Lewis.
Why do you need more than 2 hands? You don't.
Well, because you're writing scripts and doing.
Are you
things.
driving at the same time?
Because Gary mentioned if you have a third hand, come on, Justin, you got to follow along here.
I don't know if it's worse that I'm having to explain it or that I can. And that's That's what's upsetting me right now about everything that just happened.
Wow.
I did want to point out, too, that I feel like in the script, Jim Cameron also would have been feeling the same kind of way Bigelow was during this. And maybe he knew that. But you remember, like, when we did Terminator 2, the bar scene in Terminator 2 at the beginning, remember, was filmed right across the street from where
that
Rodney
happened,
King was beaten.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just to tie it back to that.
Yeah,
So Jim-
I mean, Terminator was a couple years earlier. That was 1990, I think, right? And Rodney King was 1992, but he obviously was familiar with the area. I mean, he was a Los Angeles guy. James Cameron always has been. But him asking Kathryn Bigelow or writing the script for Kathryn Bigelow specifically wasn't just out of the blue. I mean, in addition to their personal relationship, they already had a professional one. Even before they were married, Bigelow and Cameron were acquainted like professionally. Her vampire flick Near Dark, one of my favorites of hers, featured several cast members from Cameron's Aliens. It actually makes a really fun double feature with Aliens because so many people from Aliens are in it. And then later, Cameron did uncredited rewrites on Bigelow's biggest hit today, which was 1991's Point Break. I think we talked about that a little bit during that series. So this wasn't just like, I'm just going to write this because you're my ex-wife or whatever. It was like he respected her as a director, as a filmmaker. And Cameron ended up developing all of his ideas into what he called a 90-page scriptment. Remember that term? Scriptment?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a treatment, but more detailed than a regular treatment normally would be. Basically, this was a freewheeling treatment that was, as he put it, practically a novel, but unwieldy. It needed structure.
I'd forgotten we had talked about the scriptment thing, and I just thought that was fascinating again, and for some reason went down the rabbit hole on his scriptments and what they look like. And you can actually find the Strange Days scriptment online. It's pretty interesting because apparently this is, I think we've talked about it, but this is what he does for like most of his movies, even when he was pitching like Spider-Man.
Yeah, he almost writes them like a novel. They're not structured like a screenplay.
I was looking through the Strange Days one, and it's like if I wrote a script, because it's like I don't know the formal way of doing each section, so he's just kind of writing almost like he's describing a dream to you, like,
yeah,
this is happening and this thing is happening, and then you see this guy do this thing. He says blah, 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 blah. And then this person says blah, 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 blah. Anyway, if you find the script, he has like a whole dialogue he puts like at the beginning of the script. And I was going to read it, but I think I'll hold off on it since you can just find it. But it's just pretty interesting where it's like he's describing what a scriptment is before you read the scriptment. Just basically he's describing what's in his brain and how he's delivering this information to you.
Interesting.
So that,
cool.
Yeah. And then he writes at the end of it, enjoy, which
I like that.
Thought sounded kind of funny and arrogant at the same time.
Well, I mean, he is a little arrogant. I think we've established that.
Yeah.
Well, since he was a little busy with, revolutionizing blockbuster filmmaking at the time, Cameron and Bigelow decided to bring in screenwriter Jay Cox to help shape Cameron's scriptment into something usable. So go ahead, guys. I know you've got some jokes about Mr. Cox's name here, right?
Hey, Gary, if you don't mind,
let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah,
right?
I'd like to take this one. You seem to get all of these, so I'd like my chance to do this one.
Okay, go for it.
I'm something of a Jay Cox himself.
What?
I see.
Did I screw it up?
Wow.
Did I do it wrong?
I feel like I knew Todd was going to do that.
Yeah,
but
you were hoping he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he did it, and here we are now.
Wow.
I don't really have like many jokes. I mean, there's plenty of cock jokes, I guess, out there. There's lots of ways to go from rooster to penis, but I just like the idea of Jim Cameron writing the script and him and Kathryn are talking, and they're like, I think we're going to need to cock this up a little bit.
I was going to ask you, Justin, how much time did Cameron and Bigelow spend with Cox?
Wow. See there, that's better. See, that's better.
Listen,
that's yeah.
You need a first draft, and then you go in, and then like it gets better as you go on. Yeah,
better.
Introducing Cox into this situation is what made Cameron and Bigelow's relationship awkward in the first place. Right?
That's solid. That's good.
There we go. Good job, everyone.
But anyway, that's kind of his job. Blade Runner to Titanic, like the guy just comes in, he fixes up stuff, right? Like that's kind of his deal.
If there's one thing we know about Cox is that he comes in.
Yeah.
Wow.
You might say Jay helped provide the bones for this script.
All right. Are we getting all of this out of our system?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I hope so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So Jay Cox was a former Time magazine film critic and frequent Martin Scorsese collaborator who'd already worked with Bigelow on an unproduced Joan of Arc biopic, which honestly sounds like a fascinating alternate timeline, like a Kathryn Bigelow directed Joan of Arc movie. I looked into this a little bit because I did find it pretty fascinating. Luc Besson is actually who hired Bigelow to work on this film, which was going to be called Company of Angels. So that he was going to produce it and help finance it. But Besson ended up withdrawing his support and the financing for the film when he found out that Bigelow had no intention of casting his wife, Mila Jovovich, as Joan. So he's like, if you're not going to cast Mila, then I'm not involved. So he pulled out. And that caused Bigelow to leave the project, or the project just kind of fell apart. And then Besson started working on his own Joan of Arc biopic called The Messenger, which was his follow-up to The Fifth Element. Fifth Element was a huge success, so there was a lot of like hype around his next movie. It was The Messenger, which of course does indeed feature Jovovich as Joan of Arc, and it was a box office bomb. So, good job, Karma.
Yeah.
That was...
Suck it, Luke.
Yeah.
What they needed on that project was probably Cox.
I thought we were done with this.
Oh.
Now, since we're here again, I did want to say about Jay Cox, for real. I did not know him before this, but just looking through stuff that he's had a hand in and just been like working on. I mean, I think his most recent thing was the Bob Dylan biopic.
Oh.
Like he did the screenplay for it.
I'm Not There. Is that one?
The one with Timothy Chalamet. Didn't he do that?
Oh.
Help write that screenplay?
Oh, okay. That one.
Yes, he did.
Anyway, but I was looking up all that stuff. Like he helped with like The Last Temptation of Christ. Like he worked on that one. And he's actually the guy who introduced a young Robert De Niro to Martin Scorsese.
Wow.
Back in the day. So there was like so many cool stories about Jay Cox. My favorite one is one that he did not remember. He's never telling this story. It's other people were there and they remember it happening and they keep reminding him that it happened. But he was in the room with George Lucas when George Lucas was talking about A New Hope, Star Wars A New Hope,
Wow.
and going through his story ideas and was like, I don't know how to start this. And they said that Jay Cox, who was like, oh, I know. In a galaxy far, far away.
Wow, that was him.
Cool.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah.
What a legacy to have. And he didn't remember doing
Yeah.
that?
And he's like, I don't even remember that happening.
Wow. So the three of them, Cameron, Bigelow, and Cox, they spent months developing the story a little bit further. And Cameron was kind of focused on the romantic angle, the messy triangle between Lenny, Faith, and Mace. Bigelow zeroed in on more like on the politics and the atmosphere of the story. And as Cameron later said, Cox was the one who put a spine in it, helping bring it all together into a cohesive whole.
See, that's where your boner joke, that's where that should have gone right there.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I missed out on that one.
Right.
It's timing.
Yeah.
It's comedy is
It's
timing.
a lot of timing. Yeah.
So,
We're doing a great
here
job.
we are. We're doing great. So once they had a solid screenplay, everything moved pretty quickly. See, Cameron's company, Lightstorm Entertainment, they had just signed a 2-picture deal with 20th Century Fox, which also included True Lies. So 20th Century Fox was basically, they were going to finance 2 movies that James Cameron produced. True Lies got the bulk of that funding, then the rest of it went to this movie, to Strange Days, and it was greenlit with a budget of around $30 million. Although in true James Cameron fashion, that number eventually ballooned to more than $42 million.
I don't know why he doesn't just pre-estimate. Okay, it's 30, but I'm going to have to invent something for this.
Yeah.
So,
Which honestly does happen on this movie.
yeah, that's what I mean. That's just what he does.
But it makes you wonder, like, is there a bean counter somewhere who's like, okay, we're gonna say 30, but we've got this extra little Jimmy Cameroon cash.
I don't know how to budget for the camera rig that doesn't exist yet.
Well, to be fair, though, James Cameron was pretty hands off on this once it got rolling. Like he was involved in the writing and setting everything up, but then he went to work on his own movie, and he wasn't one of those producers who was like on set every day. I don't think he was ever on set. I think he might have visited the set one time. I want to make sure we say that because this is, as much as we've talked about James Cameron, his involvement does stop at a certain point. Now he comes back in during post-production and helps out, but I want to give Kathryn Bigelow all the credit on this movie.
Oh yeah. She deserves all the credit. And honestly, when we started doing this, and once I watched the movie, I was like, man, we should just done a Kathryn Bigelow series.
Yeah, at least everything leading up to this, I think fits squarely within the type of stuff that we do. I would love to. I watched The Loveless earlier this week for the first time, which is her first movie. Fantastic, and I love Near Dark, and obviously, who doesn't love Point Break, right?
Oh, it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
That was probably my leading reason
Yeah,
we should have done a
right. I
series.
just want to do Patrick Swayze series.
Hey, there you go.
Although I do love The Hurt Locker as well.
It's great.
I think it's a fantastic movie. I don't like watching it very often, but it's because it's just very uncomfortable.
It's intense. So.
Yeah.
I didn't write a very good segue into this part.
You want to just...
So let's just talk about casting.
So anyway, they started making the movie and they were like, oh shit, who's reading these lines?
We need people for this.
They just had a camera like on a stool that had the 90-page script. Oh, it's going good. Wait a minute. Oh, damn it.
We're going to need some people. All right. So that's our segue into the casting section of the episode. Flawless. Really, flawless execution here, guys.
Yep.
So when it came time to cast the character of Lenny, which is a former police officer turned black market entrepreneur, some of the names tossed around included Andy Garcia, Mel Gibson, and Kurt Russell. None of those are bad choices.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was Ray Fiennes' work on Schindler's List and then Quiz Show that convinced Kathryn Bigelow he was the only actor who could pull off Lenny's mix of desperation and charm.
Let me talk about something really quick that it just occurred to me that I need to really have spelled out for me because I don't think I realized it literally before this moment. And I'm going to be authentic and say it. Is it that Ralph is pronounced Ray?
Rafe.
Fiennes.
Rafe.
What?
I always thought, so not just me. I've always seen Ralph Fiennes, and I'm like, and so for some reason people call him Ray.
No, Rafe. Rafe is how he pronounces it. It's an old English pronunciation of his name, and it's an old family name, so that's how he prefers to pronounce it. Rafe.
Fiennes.
That's his name.
I think he just doesn't want to go by Ralph.
Because that's what it sounds like when you throw up.
But that is like Rafe is the old English pronunciation of the name that later turned into the pronunciation of Ralph. But because it's an old family name and he's from an old English family, he wants it to be pronounced the proper way. So
never knew that.
Yeah.
Never knew that. Never knew it was two F's.
Rafe.
Like two F sounds.
Rafe
Fiennes.
Yep.
I just thought people called him Ray.
Nope.
For some reason. I was like, it's just a nickname.
Nope.
People do.
That's his actual name.
True story. Before we started this movie, I honestly wasn't 100% sure they weren't two different people. But then I realized this is definitely the same person, but I guess they just like that nickname for him for some reason. And now, in the middle of the episode, I've learned that's how you pronounce that name.
Me too. Yeah.
Wow.
This is going good.
Did you also think it was Ray, Todd?
Yeah. I thought it was Ralph Fiennes, and people called him Ray for short.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. So we're not the best movie nerds in the world. I promise we did research, not on his name, obviously. But I feel like that's okay, though, because there's probably listeners that are also like, oh, God, thank you, somebody, for spelling that out for me. I've never understood it.
Well, now you all understand it. It is Rafe.
Okay, got it. Well, according to a few places, I saw it in multiple places. The short list for this casting was even wilder. Like they considered, I saw Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington, Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I think at this point, everybody's short list was including Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Although there was a real connection since it's Cameron involved.
Sure.
So, but like I even saw Jeff Bridges and John Travolta. And I was like, where is this coming from? The Tom Cruise one was a name that was supposedly named and like Bigelow actually shot down. Supposedly, from when I was trying to dig further, she liked John Travolta. One place mentioned it was because of Pulp Fiction, but I don't really believe that because she would have had to have a really early screening of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
it would think
the timing would be pretty tight there. I mean, it's possible because they start shooting this movie in the summer of '94, and I think that movie premiered at Sundance. Right, which is in January, so it's possible.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that could have worked that way. I only brought it up as being potentially legit, just because I mean, if you look at John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, it does kind of make sense.
Sure,
like you can see that. Yeah. And supposedly Cameron, when he was asked in interviews about his opinion, he didn't like Ray Fiennes at first. He was envisioning somebody, like when he was announced, he was envisioning someone more, quote, glib and slicker for Lenny. But then did it say that he was pretty impressed that he made the character sexy and relatable.
Of the three people you mentioned, Justin, I feel like if it's not Ray Fiennes, I think Andy Garcia would have been a really interesting choice. I think that would have been pretty cool. Because I feel like Mel Gibson, you lean too much towards Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, with the dystopian, future thing, it leans.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like Andy Garcia would have done really well with this.
Maybe. I have a hard time seeing him as like dark,
a digital drug dealer.
He seems a little almost too slick. I'd have a hard time seeing him in the addict side of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Just because I've never seen him do anything like that before doesn't mean he couldn't. But
True.
It's just not what I associate with him with.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson could pull off addict and crazy, obviously.
Yeah,
but like I don't see him being as skeezy as Lenny is in this movie. Like Ray Fiennes does a really good job of just something.
He rides that line really well, I think. Yeah. And Fiennes, for his part, was looking for something completely different for himself. So after Schindler's List and Quiz Show, he was kind of worried about getting stuck in a loop of what he called polite prestige dramas. He was actively searching for a project with more grit like this, and when he read the Strange Days script, he was intrigued by the story's mix of noir, sci-fi, and psychological complexity. As he later told Entertainment Weekly, he said, "I was looking for something that was going to take me into a completely different arena, something with some adrenaline, something with some edge."
Digging in on what Bigelow was saying in the Hollywood Reporter, there was an interview with her where she said that she was looking for, quote, intelligence, complexity, and depth. And Fiennes just brought that.
And because this role was such a departure for him, Fiennes took his preparation very seriously. He spent a lot of time in downtown LA hanging around clubs and underground music venues. He watched how small-time hustlers operated, how they charmed and manipulated and survived. He also met with addiction counselors to understand compulsion cycles, and he read case studies about gamblers and thrill seekers who couldn't stop chasing the next high. As he put it, and this is again from that Entertainment Weekly article, he said, "I wanted to show how Lenny can be charming, desperate, and pathetic all at once. He's surviving on illusions, and it costs him everything."
I couldn't find that exact club crawl itinerary he had going on.
He wanted to recreate it?
Yeah, recreated it. This is kind of method prep thing that he's doing, hanging with hustlers and addiction counselors, and just this really immersive. It's like he wanted to live that role and not just act it out.
And he's not quite doing like method acting, but he wants to understand it from their point of view so that he can kind of create the character. It's not like he's like becoming an addict, or it's not like going like.
And one press chat, he called it a psychological deep dive, and so Lenny's addiction was like a drugged out feedback loop. He didn't want just grit; he wanted to show like some self destruction in there as well. Rumor in early press was that he was like living in tent cities and had a heroin addiction, just like Charles Bukowski without puking on camera. And I made all that last part up just for clarity.
Thanks. Let's not sully the name of Rafe Fiennes.
We did that earlier.
So while Fiennes was cast after a long search, Angela Bassett was always the first choice for Mace. Bigelow knew from the start that Mace needed to be the film's emotional and moral counterpoint to Lenny's chaos, and she's often described the character as the conscience and anchor of the story.
She's awesome in this.
She's so good.
She's really good.
Yeah. And Bassett was coming straight off of her Oscar-nominated turn as Tina Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It, a role that proved that she could be fierce, compassionate, and physically dynamic. In other words, everything that Bigelow was looking for this role. And Bassett didn't even have to audition. Basically, Bigelow and her producer, Stephen Charles Jaffe, they just went to her and they're like, "Here, this is yours. Please take it." Like they wanted her in this role. And Bassett, for her part, she didn't just show up and read her lines. Bassett trained in martial arts. She trained in tactical weapons handling, and she trained in stunt driving. She wanted to do all the driving herself, and Bigelow wanted her to do her driving herself, and they wanted this character to feel authentic. When you're watching this movie, if she looks like she could knock Ralph Fiennes on his ass, that's because she probably could.
Yeah, she's a badass for sure.
Oh, she's legit, man. Just those arms,
those fucking guns, man. She brought the gun show.
And I saw one interview where she was talking about how she was kind of mad at herself because she had, everybody was like, oh, you kept up the physique after Tina Turner because she'd gotten like ripped for that too, and then she was like, no, actually, I kind of was like, I'm going to loosen up a little bit. And she's like, then I kind of let myself go some. And so then I was mad because I had to like start from point A again. And there was a article with a blog I think I read called Feminist Frequency where they described her like female action heroine who doesn't need saving. She delivers it.
Yeah.
And I really like that. There's like no qualms about her being the one who's the badass.
Oh, she's the hero. I mean, she is.
Yeah.
This. We were watching this movie the other night, and I turned to Bunny at one point. I was like, she's just like saving his ass the entire movie. Like, it's just him. It's just Rafe Fiennes being a damsel in distress the entire movie, and Angela Bassett swoops in and saves him. Like that the whole time. Like she is the hero of the movie, and she's also in line with that kind of like badass female protagonist that James Cameron movies often have. Like she's in the same lineage as Ripley in Aliens and as Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. Like she belongs there with them.
You almost feel bad that she didn't get more opportunity to do that. Like this character could be a kick-ass female action hero.
Rounding out the film's trio of leads is Juliette Lewis as Faith. Like Bassett, she was offered this role directly, largely because of her fearless performances in Natural Born Killers, Cape Fear, and California. And then there's her voice. You see, a big part of Faith's hold over Lenny comes from her music. She's not just an obsession, she's also a siren. And Lewis didn't just look the part. She is, you guys might know this, but she's a real singer. She's got a band. And she agreed to perform all of Faith's songs live on set, no lip syncing required.
I think we talked about this a little bit back in the Psychotronic Film Society days that we referenced at the start of the show. Juliette Lewis has always weirded me out. I don't know what it is about her. Her face is interesting to me. And I think it started ever since I saw her in Melissa Etheridge's Come to My Window video. And for some reason, she creeped me out and has never stopped creeping me out. Although I will say her in Yellow Jackets is a little more attractive to me for some reason. I guess the older Juliette Lewis was better for me. But the performance that she does in this movie was still creepy. I don't know another way to put it, but good for her. I felt better because I feel like this should go somewhere and it's not. I read some critiques of this movie and some people complained at people keep casting her as the most desirable woman in the world and that this film is a misstep. I won't quote who that was because it's mean. They also said they found her voice to be, quote, goat-like, and her appearance disconcerting.
Wow.
Is that because of all the nudity?
I don't know. So not just me. That's good.
I want to say the first thing I ever saw her in was probably From Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, unless I'm just not remembering something else, but yeah. She's
I like Juliette Lewis.
definitely unique.
Yeah,
She's very
I like
unique.
Juliette Lewis. I do think she's an actress that works best in a specific type of role. I think this is one of those roles. I think Natural Born Killers is one of those roles. I think there are some instances where she's been miscast because she does have a very specific sort of aura, sort of vibe to her that doesn't work for just anything. Like I can't see her, not that she's ever really done this, but as like a romantic comedy lead. Maybe she has, and I don't remember them, but that's just not her thing. Her thing is like, she's a little bit weird. She's a little bit, and that's sort of part of her appeal as an actress, and that's why she gets cast in those types of roles. You see her, and she's like, well, she's sort of like sexy, but also terrifying. Like that's what Mallory Knox is, like the way that she carries herself. And when you put her in the right role, that can work like gangbusters. I think she works very well here. I think she is perfect for this role, actually.
There's some like something in the eyes that definitely, it's dangerous or something. All of my assholishness about Juliette Lewis out of the way, I will say that I did read an interview with her in Uncut where she talked about her singing in this movie and that they weren't sure how to handle it at first, but then like she got to talk to Bigelow and just explained that she was into singing even before acting, and that she said Bigelow basically just handed her the mic and was just like, well, then this role I need you to go primal.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
So like I believe the tears, the voice cracking, it's all real. Like so she's believable in the part.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the role of Philo Gant, the sleazy, manipulative record mogul pulling Faith's strings, Bigelow wanted someone who'd feel both charismatic and menacing. And one of the first names on the list was Bono. Yeah, like like that Bono, like the lead singer of U2, the wannabe world saver Bono, that guy.
Very menacing.
Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, scheduling conflicts and Bono's understandable hesitation about jumping into a full-blown dramatic villain role caused the idea to sort of fizzle out. I think he was which I get. He's never really acted, and you're going to throw him into this role of all things. So Bigelow instead cast the always reliable Michael Wincott. Yet another link to The Crow, which I feel like has been mentioned in nearly every episode of this virtual insanity series, right? Like, I feel like almost all of them. Maybe not Ghost in the Shell. I don't remember. But I feel like The Crow's been mentioned a lot. I mean, it's 94, so we're pretty close time-wise. But I love Michael Wincott. I think he's a scary dude. Another one who's never going to play the lead in a romantic comedy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, we probably did mention it in Ghost in the Shell because Michael Wincott's one of the guys in the remake.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So maybe we did.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just thought about it. I don't know. But yeah. So
your description is always reliable was pretty spot on. Like I was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's 100% Michael Wincott, and I love him every time I see him. And it's weird because I think I had forgotten about him for a while until I saw Nope.
Yeah, he's great in Nope.
And then I was like, oh, it's that fucking guy.
Yeah,
again.
that voice. It's that voice.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It'd be so weird if he was like the goofy dad in like a romantic comedy or something like
Home
that.
Improvement.
You almost want to see him get miscast in something just to see how bizarre it would be.
Well, now I definitely want to see him pick up like a power tool and go like.
Anyway, we're okay. Juliette Lewis's Natural Born Killers co-star Tom Sizemore was brought in to play Lenny's old cop friend turned PI Max Peltier. And then Sizemore had already worked with Bigelow on Blue Steel, a fairly small role in Blue Steel, but she knew that she liked him, and he brings this sort of perfect blend of charm and menace that's needed for this role, and a very bad wig.
Yeah,
very bad wig.
It's a rough wig,
but it is. We find out by the end of the movie, it is actually a wig.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
So it plays.
The only if you need Lenny to have a best friend that can out sleaze him, then you could do no worse than Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore,
do no better than Tom Sizemore.
I kept thinking about him from Point Break as the
Is he in Point Break too?
He's the DEA officer.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yep.
Well, other small but important roles in the film include Glenn Plummer as Jericho 1. He's the murdered activist and rapper. I love Glenn Plummer. He's just one of those character actors who every now and then you'll see him pop up in something, and I don't know, he's always good, you know?
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio played Burton Steckler, one of the corrupt cops behind that killing.
I had to do a double take with him. I was like,
really?
Is that Vincent D'Onofrio?
And then William Fichtner again. That guy again. We've talked about him a couple episodes ago.
Still looking disappointed.
Yeah, still not playing a good guy. Never has played a good guy.
Well, it's that face. Yeah, he just looks upset about something. He doesn't like you. He doesn't like you or anything that's happening right now.
But Fichtner plays Steckler's partner, Dwayne Engelman, another one of the cops. And then I wanted to mention this, but one of my all-time favorite 90s character actors, Nicky Katt. He pops up as a low-level criminal in the Squid Underground. He's the one with the head. He's bald-headed, and he's got kind of the head tattoo here.
Oh,
yeah.
That's Nicky Katt. And it's a pretty small role, but I wanted to mention it because I've just always been a big fan of Nicky Katt, and he actually unfortunately passed away just a few weeks ago. So I wanted to give him a shout out because he's another one of those character actors, especially in like 90s stuff, that like I just get excited when he pops up because he's very charismatic, and I always thought he should have had a much bigger like career than he ended up having. Always reliable, but just like there's just something about him that is appealing. So, RIP to that guy. Just kind of one of the like MVPs of character acting from this time period, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I will give Todd the double take on Vincent D'Onofrio, like because I've been watching all of the Marvel old Netflix shows and working my way up through, and I just finished Daredevil Born Again. So him as the Kingpin is he's just the best.
Yeah.
But just just the underlying rage that he can hold that's so like I don't know. It's so perfect. He's so good at that. And then
Well, that's why like his role in Full Metal Jacket is like that's exactly what his role is.
Of
Is like this
course.
guy who is like his entire arc is he's being pushed over the edge, and you
Yeah.
can see
Well,
it behind his eyes the whole time.
I was gonna literally reference Gomer Pyle in that I saw it come out of him when he's like dragging William Fichtner's body
Yes,
like
yes.
coming towards her, and I was like, oh, there
He
it
turns
is.
into like a slasher movie villain there for a minute. At the,
Face covered in blood.
Yep,
Jeez.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. Well, filming on Strange Days began in Los Angeles on June 6, 1994. And much like Brett Leonard had done on Virtuosity, Kathryn Bigelow really wanted Los Angeles to be a character in the film. She didn't want this to feel like just, generic cyber future city number 12. She wanted her film to be embedded in the real geography of Los Angeles. So virtually no soundstage interiors are used. Instead, she shot entirely on location in downtown streets, in subway stations, warehouse districts, and at Venice Beach. And nearly 80% of that shoot happened at night, making it one of the most logistically demanding projects that Bigelow had tackled up until that point.
I was reading one article that talked about like street porn aesthetic as how they described it, and I thought that was an interesting thing. But I feel like this is even more calculated than that. Like this is like immersion into the street. Like just they shut down Sunset Boulevard for 2 nights straight,
Which is insane.
Yeah.
yeah. They're filming in like subway dives and like 4-hour windows. They're literally treating downtown LA like it's a stage or a live set or something, which is just seems crazy to be able to pull off, even in a town that's used to movies. But there was a interview with one of the producers, Stephen Charles Jaff. He said in that, I remember that Kathryn Bigelow had planned this thing so well. All of this took days when any other director it could have taken weeks.
Yeah, she was just on top of it. And at her side was a cinematographer named Matthew Leonetti, who had previously worked on films like Poltergeist, which we've talked about, and Commando, which we unfortunately have not talked about yet.
We will.
Oh,
We
we totally will.
For Strange Days, Leonetti drew inspiration from war zone documentaries, 90s music videos, and, of course, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, a film that we are legally obligated to mention every time we talk about a cyberpunk movie, I think.
Yeah, that tracks.
It says he drew that inspiration, but what I really loved was like you mentioned there, just like his inspiration from Warzone documentaries. So, because again, like it could have looked like a lot of these other movies,
Like
but
Virtuosity, where everything's all shiny and,
Yeah.
and instead it's like a real dystopia.
Yeah.
And not even like over the top dystopia, but
No,
just
it feels
just enough.
legit. It feels real. Like it's
Yeah.
not like you don't have flying cars and holograms and stuff everywhere. Like this feels legitimate, like both in the production design and the way that he's shooting it. And there's like smoke everywhere. Like it feels like a cyberpunk version of like the Smells Like Teen Spirit video. Like it's
Yeah.
got like that vibe to it. I think it is a fantastic looking movie.
Well, there's all those movies that like take place in the future, and they like make a point to shove that it's the future like in your face. And then there's those other ones that it's like in the not too distant future, but then it's kind of like, oh, we're almost there. Like it is that even though it takes place, roughly 5 years in the future, it feels just kind of like, especially with the Rodney King incident and all that stuff. It's like, oh, this is right around the corner. This is Los Angeles.
And also like Virtuosity was also set in 1999, and they look like their versions of the future or that near future are like vastly different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you think of Russell Crowe as zoot suits, like brightly colored zoot suits, and then, like you said, everything's so shiny. And this is totally opposite of that. One thing I think of is like my wife's least favorite movies are. She hates zombie movies, and she's not a huge sci-fi fan, but especially like dystopian stuff. So I think I think deep down her internal problem is she doesn't like the idea of society collapsing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's like a secret.
It's a psychological thing.
Yeah,
I think it's like a secret
that'll
fear.
ruin your weekend. Yeah.
Right. But I was thinking of this during the opening stuff with Lenny just driving down the street and just looking around and listening to the radio. And it gives you the perfect establishment of like what what this is supposed to feel like.
Including the stuff you're hearing on the radio, which gives
Yeah.
you some like background information.
Yeah, exactly. And but I remember just watching that part of it and seeing the fires where they were, the people standing on the sidewalks and that kind of thing. She was super into this movie too, and I was like, man, she Bigelow like and Leonetti, like they have balanced it just that much, like not just opposite of what Virtuosity was doing, but not so far over to the other side where it's, you know, we kind of talked about it, but where it's like dystopian, like everything's collapsed and corrupt and weird. It's just like this could be happening right now. This is
crumbling, but it hasn't collapsed yet.
Yeah, this could have been LA like 2 months ago during the ice raids or whatever that was, you know.
Yeah. Well, the film's biggest technical challenge by far was those point of view squid sequences. Leonetti worked really closely with a guy named Jimmy Muro, a Steadicam operator who'd already wrangled cameras for James Cameron on The Abyss and Terminator 2. And Muro's contributions to this film really can't be overstated. Like, he didn't just operate the rigs. He basically invented new ways to shoot action that had never been tried before. Now, the problem was there wasn't a camera rig on Earth in 1994 that could do what Bigelow was imagining. No lightweight RED cameras, no GoPros, no iPhones that you could duct tape to your forehead. So the production spent almost a year designing and building a special 8-pound 35mm camera that could be mounted on a helmet rig, something that could mimic the human eye as closely as possible. So yeah, the camera operators in this literally had to wear the camera on their heads, basically becoming a cyborg for the sake of cinema. And these point of view shots, they were downright revolutionary. In 1994, first-person video was mostly reserved for video games like Doom. Doom had come out 2 years before this, I think. But filming sequences this way let the audience experience scenes directly through the character's eyes, predating the sort of body cam and first-person footage that's everywhere online today. And Bigelow, when she went to shoot these scenes, she shot them so that they would feel unbroken, like you were living the moment in real time. But in reality, there were a lot of, invisible cuts hidden inside of the choreography of each scene. So for example, in that opening robbery scene, which we will talk about, it is unbelievable. That jump across the roof was filmed with a helmet rig, like it was on a cameraman's head. But the sprint up the stairs, they couldn't do that. It would be bouncing too much. So they used a Steadicam. So to bridge them, Leonetti and Muro worked in a whip pan. There's a moment when the character hears the cops and he turns his head. And that fast motion actually hides the transition. So when the camera snaps back, you've actually seamlessly moved from a Steadicam footage to the helmet cam without the audience ever even noticing that there was a cut in there. And that single sequence, by the way, that whole opening scene, probably the most complex scene in the entire film, took almost 2 years of planning, testing, and probably a fair amount of cursing. As Jimmy Muro put it, it was like a relay race, helmet cam, Steadicam, handheld, passing the baton without the audience seeing.
No, it's crazy. They're like hiding edits, like they're hiding dead bodies or something. It's amazing just how good they are at this, because I did not know that. And I wouldn't have guessed. I don't know that I would have pointed out where the edit was. I guess if it were like homework and I would have had to figure out where the cuts were.
Well, even watching it after reading them describe specifically where a couple of the cuts were, you don't notice it. Like, I mean, it's seamless. It is incredibly well done.
I think I only caught one, and it was like, it was one of those ones where it's just like, yeah, like there's just not an easy way to do that. Like you just said, 2 years. Holy crap.
Yeah.
For a scene that is
90
incredible,
seconds
but like it's not long. Yeah.
But what a hell of a way to like start a movie. Like you are dropped right into this. You have no context for what's going on. You're seeing it from person point of view. Like, yeah, of course, movies have done this since then. Like Hardcore Henry, the whole movie is from first person point of view.
Thought about that. Yeah.
You've never seen it done at this time. You're just dropped into someone else's eyes, basically. And not only are they having to like move the camera in ways to hide choreography and things like that, but they're having to move the camera in a way that feels like a person's head would naturally move to look at something. So it's not just like, it's not these smooth camera moments, it's the movement of like the eyes. And so when they're choreographing this, they're also having to think about like, where would I look? How would I look? When would I turn my head to because that translates to making it feel like you're actually seeing it through this person's eyes and not seeing it through a camera mounted to a person.
Yeah.
So they had to like kind of learn. Jimmy Murrow talks about this in some interviews. He had to kind of learn, like almost relearn how to shoot with a camera, because you're having to do it in a way that has never really been done before. Like the way that the camera is moving is so unique compared to like how you're trained to move a camera. You know?
Yeah. And you also think about stuff like, you also think about it from the performer's perspective as well.
Yeah.
If you're addressing that person, you got to be looking into the lens, not at the person's face or wherever their face happens to be.
And they're also having to like involve stunt guys, you know, like when the guy jumps over the roof, that's a stunt man, you know, like they're having to train the stunt men to work these cameras. And it's like the amount of work that goes into, I mean, all of the POV sequences, but especially this one, because there are so many moving parts, because they're moving through the restaurant, up the stairs, onto the roof, over the roof, jumping the gap on the roof. Like there's a lot going on, like the amount of work that went into this. But I think that when it's the way that you're starting the movie, it's like it's that pistol going off at the beginning of a race, you know, like you are in it immediately and you don't know what you're in. It's like, it's discombobulating a little bit. Like you're just dropped into it. Then when it ends, you see like his reaction to it, Ray Fiennes' reaction, you're like, oh, like he was watching this the whole time. And all of a sudden, like, you know, everything you need to know about the squid technology. Yeah. Because you just experienced it along with him. Very, very cool.
God, this movie's so well made.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's, I know we're going to get into, we'll talk more about it later. I do think some of this filming stuff is pretty impressive. Like I think I saw Leonetti say 60 to 70% of the film is completely done with some sort of moving camera or steady cam, you know, I just thought that was impressive. You know, it seemed like everybody was like learning something new making this movie.
Yeah.
It's wicked.
And another of the film's massive undertakings was the big New Year's Eve sequence that closes out the story. And this sequence was shot on the streets of downtown LA, mostly around this place called the Bonaventura Hotel. And it involved more than 10,000 extras. 10,000 people were brought in for this sequence.
I legitimately, when it shows those overhead shots of, you know, everything, I was like, A, I don't want to be there. And
I want nothing to do with this.
But B, I was also like, wow, is that CG? Like how?
Yeah.
Oh,
now, if they did it now, it would be CG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's real people.
I thought they just like put up a board that says 2000 and just shot like on New Year's. I was like, they probably just shot it on New Year's.
No, they're shooting it like in the summertime. They're shooting this in the summertime in LA.
Now, and it's just crazy to think about just on the overhead shots though, like how many people are like crammed in there. And it's nuts enough when you get the street level shots of it and all the people are there, but just when the overhead shots are just like, oh my God.
It's overwhelming. Yeah. Like how many people are there. It's crazy. And I wrote in my notes, I'm going to just a little behind the scenes for our listeners. I wrote in my notes that each extra was paid $10. I've read in some places, I read that they were paid $10. In other places, I read that they each paid $10, like an admission fee. And I read both of those from multiple sources. So I'm not sure exactly which one is true, whether they paid $10 to get into this essentially a party, or if they were paid $10 to be there. I'm not sure. I think that they had to pay admission $10. That's kind of where I lean, because they are getting to go to a party, as we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to be transparent on that multiple sources have given me multiple bits of information regarding that, and I could not figure out which was which, because it just depended on where I read it and who was talking.
I mean, we'll get into, you know, some of the number crunching, but like not a bad way to like take a chunk out of the
out
of the budget.
Yeah.
Like Oh,
So
we're just throwing a party?
yeah,
Charge
$10.
admission.
Yeah, it's a concert. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
concert
yeah.
you're getting to go to. Yeah. So basically, let's say they had to pay $10. Okay, and then they were told to show up dressed for an apocalyptic techno party. That's the exact words they were told. Show up for an apocalyptic techno party, which I guess in 1994 is code for leather mesh and as many glow sticks as you can humanly carry, because that's what everyone's wearing in this. They all look like they were, invited to a Nine Inch Nails concert, basically.
Yeah.
The production also hired more than 50 off-duty police officers to help control the crowd. That's in addition to on-duty police officers that were there, of course, that I'm sure the city requires when you have 10,000 people there. And they brought in rave promoters Moss Jacobs and Philip Blaine to line up live performances from D-Light, Skunk Anansi, and every other electronic act that they could wrangle. So this is like an actual concert that these people are attending. All in all, this single sequence cost about $750,000. And that included renting roughly half of the Bonaventura's 1,300 hotel rooms for production offices, crew accommodations, and gear storage. So they're renting out half of a hotel in addition to this. Shooting on the sequence started at about 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. The plan was for it to run until about 4 a.m. the next morning, although it did have to wrap a little bit early after several extras were hospitalized due to ecstasy overdoses, which I didn't even know was a thing. but that really does drive home the whole immersive realism vibe that they were going for, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is, like Gary said, it is an incredible sequence, though, and you feel the kind of epic scope of this. Everyone thinks that this could be the end of the world, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That this is kind of before, I guess, the conversations about Y2K and stuff were really popping up, but still, like, people like,
I was thinking it must have been, or else you would have mentioned Y2K probably.
But even so, there were all these, and this is reflected in some of like the radio broadcasts and things like that we hear in the film, that there were like religious sects who believed that the rapture and stuff was going to happen like when the clock struck midnight.
Yeah.
So all of these people are gathering for essentially like an end of the world party.
I do appreciate the radio DJ at the beginning, though, asking the all important question of is that midnight Eastern or Pacific?
Honestly, a valid question. that everyone should have been asking.
I just again, just you mentioned this earlier, but even in this scene, it's important to point out is that 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. time frame that they're shooting all of this. It's just shooting at night. Like Leonetti has like nothing to help you, and Bigelow is very big on like pointing it out in interviews and stuff too, just how big of a deal that is, and how much it helped. And they're lighting like a whole 7-block stretch of Sunset Boulevard at one point, so they can do stuff on both ends.
God.
And it is huge. It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I guess that's where we will pause our story for this week. Kathryn Bigelow has just pulled off one of the most ambitious shoots of the 1990s, complete with custom helmet cams, 10,000 rave extras, and a budget that is already spiraling out of control. And in part 2, we will dive into how the music gave Strange Days its pulse, how the movie crashed and burned at the box office, nearly derailing Bigelow's career, and why this film feels more relevant today than ever. Stick around. We're just getting started on Strange Days. We will pick back up with this story in 1 week.
In 1 week, you'll find out how Ralph Fiennes actually murdered Tom Sizemore.
That's what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
Did he go to jail? Did Tom Sizemore go to jail?
Oh,
yeah. He did, right? Okay, I thought so. That's two guys in this movie that's gone to jail?
Yeah.
Only one of them for murder. I don't think Tom Sizemore murdered anyone.
Yeah, I don't think
drug stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's either drugs or DUIs or both. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, fellas, I think we're done for now for part 1 of Strange Days. Do you want to let our listeners know where you can be found on the internet?
I am at J Cox. No, I don't know why I said that. I'm at This Is Gary Horde.
You can find my Star Trek podcast, Computer Resume podcast, at Computer Resume, and all my D&D nerdiness at D's20 Live, and I'm at Mr. Todd A. Davis on Instagram.
And I am at Justin_Bishop on most of the things. You can find the show at cinema_shock or head to cinemashock.net. That's your one-stop shop for all things Cinema Shock. You can find links to our Discord, our merch, all of our episodes, obviously all of our social media, and of course Cinema Shock Plus, where you can get all that extra stuff, and you can go ahead and get part 2 of this episode, right, or of this story right now. It's available. It's already out. If you're listening to this, it's already there, waiting for you. It's waiting for you right now, beckoning you to come.
Begging.
Come.
Even.
Like Jay Cox.
Yeah.
Hey-o, I was waiting for that. Until next time.
May the wings of liberty never lose a feather.
And be excellent to each other.
Johnny has the keys.
I thought he was going to say Johnny has the cocks.
No, but I will say that Juliette Lewis is so nude. Her stand-in is just a shadow. Listen, if I had to write them, you have to listen to them.
Hey, I don't have to laugh at them.
That's true. That's true. Listen, I get better. I get better by your reactions. So,
well, when did the jokes get better?